All right, hello, good morning, guys. Today is another daily market outlook on GBPUSD. So, we are a bit late for this analysis. I will take that because I was kind of busy this morning, so I couldn't do this video earlier. So, let's quickly do this analysis on GBPUSD. So, on the higher time frame, this sell I have been calling for the past 1 month now, since the start of this month to this day. Today is on 29th of October 2025. So yesterday I explained how this could be the inducement, this run of liquidity to continue the bearish trend, and eventually it's actually continued the bearish trend, but we didn't get an opportunity to enter during the London session and both the New York session here. We couldn't enter, but right now currently we know we have created a new lower low, right? So we had a lower low, a lower high, and a new lower low. So wherever the low is going to be formed, we just follow market structure right now. So this is now my main push on the markets right now. This would be my main push from now, this high here and this low here. Wherever the low is going to be formed, we don't know yet, but this is how we are going to be doing the analysis. So we know now that we are now bearish, right? So we mark out our relevant supply zones. Now in terms of marking out supply zones, I'm going to use this because this is my main push right now. My current main push, intraday main push, is from this high here to this low that is forming right now. So why did I choose this zone? Because this was where we had a manipulation, the medium inducement that continued the bearish trend, right? So we did a medium inducement here, bearish push. So this is our main push, this blue line that I put here. So we'll mark out our relevant supply zones now, which is this high here, this is our extreme, and this is our decisional right here. The reason I call this our decisional was because during the London session, towards the New York session, we had a manipulation where price sweeps low, invited buyers, and actually ran liquidity on the lower time frame. Boom, that went bearish, that took out the whole of this structure here. So yesterday, the only position I was able to take was a 1 to 4, 1 to 4.8. It was almost a 1 to 5, but I only got a 1 to 4.8. But I actually closed at 1 to 3. I took 50% at 1 to 3. So that was how we took the trade. And the reason I took it was we had a lower low formed and we had a medium inducement. It was in my key time window, which was the New York key time window, and we swept a lot of liquidity. So why not catch a bit of retracement, right? So I knew this trade wasn't going to be long, right? At least maybe we could have targeted this supply zone. This was my target initially, this supply zone. This was my target, but price didn't come there, and boom, went to make a new lower low. So right now, currently on this day, on this particular day, what we can take from this right now is we are now in a bearish market, right? But at some point we will be having a retracement. At some point we are going to be having a pullback, right? So where is that pullback going to be formed, and how are we going to know if it is ready? So first thing first, we made a new lower low. We find our main push, we find our relevant supply zone. We know we could be coming to those zones at some point, but currently we can look for buys as a retracement, or we can continue looking for sales depending on the context of intraday, which is the daily cycle, which is the London session. So first of all, I go back in time and I look for where price could react from. Now this zone here is actually a lower low zone. It didn't actually lead to a break of structure. So okay, so this was a lower low zone. We know that price might just give a bit of reaction, so we need to see some kind of manipulation to anticipate a pullback, right? So while looking for a pullback, the first zone that we could expect is if price break internal structure. Now this is the last lower high, that means this lower low. We are not close there. This is our small intraday supply zone. So that's just to mark out, not actually I'm going to sell from there. No, this is just to mark out our zones. Now when I go back in time, I saw this zone here, this particular zone. So what did I take from there? I saw we had a build up, we have an inducement, a run of liquidity that led to a bullish break of structure. So this bearish trend, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, that was coming, the last lower high, that means this lower low, was broken by this particular demand here, and we had a small pullback and continued the bullish trend, right? So this is showing me that this zone is actually a liquidity. That's why I mark it out as a liquidity there, because it didn't actually lead to a break of structure. So if I'm going to be looking for a pullback trade, which should at least catch grab a liquidity that could make us anticipate a pullback, right? So, and this is a valid liquidity point here because it didn't actually lead to this breakout structure. The bullish trend started from here, this inducement that led to this strong push out. So, but this zone is still a lower low zone, right? Because if you go back to the higher time frame, you can see when that low was formed, we actually went to mitigate a higher time frame supply zone. So for the past uh, 2 months now, I would say we have been expecting a new lower low to be formed, right? So that doesn't mean we can't get a reaction from this zone here, even if it's going to be temporary. So we mark out the zone. I call it a retail zone because it's going to give us a reaction, but it's not going to sustain because the current trend is still bearish. It's still very, very bearish, right? So let's go to the current price action now and see what is going on. So let me take this out because we haven't known where the low is going to be formed, but I could anticipate that we'll take this liquidity and tap into this zone before we have a pullback trade, right? So going down to the 15-minute time frame now, let's dissect the kind of roadmap if you are going to be selling or if you are going to be buying. This is where the main analysis come into play. So I bring back my Asian session now. Coming to this session, we could see that we are still bearish and we had a breakout structure right here. This is the last lower high that made this lower low. This is our supply zone, right? Our supply zone is right around there. So now the favorable roadmaps that I have initially was if price could create a trap, maybe this Asian low run of liquidity right here could maybe push price to this zone here, then we could look for sales during our London key window, and we could look for sales to continue the bearish trend and eventually take out not only the demand zone, the fake demand zone that we formed here, we could also go on and grab this liquidity. Okay, sorry for the delay. I was kind of confused. I thought my video was not recording. So, um, so this roadmap is now cancelled, right? Because we didn't have that reaction. But right now, currently, as I explained, what I would be expecting for price right now is to sweep this zone. Once we sweep that zone, maybe come into this demand area, then we can look for buys, right? We can look for the buys. We can look for buys to start the complex pullback and maybe go into the decisional, or maybe this demand zone is not going to give us a strong reaction, but we could have a reaction that could give us a reasonable amount of risk to reward before the zone fails, right? So this will be my roadmap for the day. But currently now, I don't have a specific trade on hand because I'm not looking to buy from here when this liquidity has not been cleared. I'm not looking to buy. At the same time, we are in a lower low zone, so trying to sell from any of these supply zone is most likely going to be a disaster. It can lead to losses, right? So we had a small breakup structure here. So if at any point price decided to sweep this zone here, right, if it sweep this zone in my London time window and I see a confirmation like this, then I'm going to look for sales to continue the bearish trend, right? And we should take out this liquidity before we look for buys. So that's kind of what I want to see in this London session right now. The other thing I would like to see is, let's go to the 1 minute time frame. This is kind of risky because this actually ran liquidity, a small trend line liquidity right here. We swept that liquidity and led to a break of structure, another break of structure. Coming to London Open, we know that the sellers are still in control because of this inducement that we had here. So this inducement is showing me that the sellers are still in control. So there's no reason to buy just yet. So if price could come to this zone, right, it comes to this zone, you swept Asian low and whatever, this is actually now a weak zone for me because it done its job, it ran liquidity and bearish push. So it will be more risky to look for sales from here, and the most favorable roadmap could be if we sweep this zone and we see a change of character and we continue bearish. This will be my kind of sell if I want to sell. So this is what I want to see. And the other thing I would like to see is if price continues bearish and we take out the whole zone here, we grab liquidity and I see a change of character, then I'm going to sell. I'm going to buy actually, maybe at least target the supply zone or maybe beyond. So these are kind of things we don't actually say today is going to be bearish because we are bearish, or we are not going to say we are going to have a pullback because we are now in a lower low zone. So we don't guess when the low is formed. We just follow our daily cycles and let's see how the lower time frame reveals what price is going to give us. So showing you this roadmap right now, let's see what is actually going to play out, right? um yeah, that's it. This roadmap could also be possible because this was actually a manipulation that led to a low here. So we could actually get a manipulation like this and we will continue the bearish trend to the downside. So with that being said, I won't further analyze this price action. I'll just leave it this way and let more price develops, right? So we don't have to guess where what price should do. We just react to whatever price gives us, right? So these are just roadmaps, these are just daily cycles that we could have. So that will be the end of this analysis. Thanks for watching.